We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahuah HaMashiach this day. John 5:39.
Sit down, right on the floor. Sit down.
Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor? Mari, hush, hush. Cry on the inside. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So we're going to continue looking at a man after Elohim's own heart. Let's go to 2 Samuel, I want to say chapter 4. Second Samuel chapter 4, verse 1. 2 Samuel chapter 4 picks up after Abner, son of Ner, had been killed by Joab. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all Yasharal were troubled. Saul's sons had two men that were captains of the bands. The name of one was Banah, the name of another was Rechab. The sons of Rimmon, a Beerthite of the children of Benjamin, for Barak also was reckoned of Benjamin. And the Benjamites fled to Gittim and were sojourners there unto this day. Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. It came to pass as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon the Beerthite and Rechab and Banah went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishaboth, who lay at the bed at noon. And they came hither into the midst of the house as though they would have fetched wheat, and they smote him under the fifth rib, and Rechab and Banah his brother escaped. So we see this is third person get hit in his rib. Y'all already know that from John 19. Now let's look and see what occurs after this. You see how long this chapter is, see how much I need to move around. It's not much. But when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bed chamber, and they smote him, slew him, and beheaded him, and took his head and gat them away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishaboth unto David to Hebron, and said to the king, Behold, Ishaboth, the son of Saul, thy enemy, which sought thy life, and you have avenged my master the king this day of Saul and of his seed. David answered Rechab and Banah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerthite, and said unto them, As Yahuah live, who have redeemed my soul out of all adversity, when one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought me glad tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag. He said, Who thought I would have given him a reward for his tidings? He said, How much more when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his house upon his bed? Shall I now therefore require his blood of your hand and take you away from the earth? David commanded his young men, and they slew him, cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishaboth and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. Now, of course, you see, what did David just execute right here? What did he just do? Again, he executed judgment. Now, can anyone tell me how this parallels to something that Mashiach spoke of what these men did to Saul's son? They killed him. So how does that relate? In Matthew 23 there. Let's look and see what that is. Anybody got an idea before we look and see what that is? You got to look back and look at it, right? What did they say to David after they killed this man and brought him his head?
They say he brought good tidings.
They say we done killed your enemy, correct? So how does that relate? So words that he spoke. Well, let's look and see. John chapter 16 and verse 1. Yes, ma'am. 16:1. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be afraid. They shall put you out of the synagogues, and yea, the time come that whosoever kill you will think he do Elohim service. Did these men, when they killed this young man, didn't they think they did y'all service with their behavior? You know what I'm saying? So this is an inkling to sit back. And they thought when they came and brought this information back that it would have been well received. But let's take another look at something that Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 14. So you have to realize something. They killed the righteous man. What did David do for this righteous man's blood? He avenged it. That's why he tell you that nevertheless, so he said, I will avenge them speedily. But will I find faith when I come on the earth? There ain't nothing you got to worry about. But that's the thing I be telling you, like, boy, it's going to be the people you don't think that's going to kill you. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 14. Make it about verse 12. We're going to ahead and make that verse 8. He says, so being affectionately desirous of you, we were willing to have imparted unto you not the gospel of Elohim only, but also our own souls, because you were dear unto us. For you remember, and see that also, take us what we read in 2 Samuel 23 with that water of Bethlehem, because those men were desirous to impart the thing that, you sit back and look at what did they go get this man? They went and got him well out of where? Bethlehem, which is the house of bread. So they went and got him a wellspring of living water. The same way that Yahuah say that he's a wellspring of living water. And that he is desirous to impart this unto you, but also that he was desirous to impart his own life. Weren't those men desirous? They were willing to die to get this man this water. So then you have to realize how Elohim was willing to die to get you that same water, to impart not only the gospel unto you, but his life. He say, for remember, brethren, our labor and travail for laboring night and day, because we would not be chargeable unto any of you. We preached unto you the gospel of Elohim. You are witnesses, and Elohim also, how kadeshly and justly and unblamable we have behaved ourselves among you that believe. As you know how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you, as a father doth his children, that you will walk worthy of Elohim, who have called you unto the kingdom, unto his kingdom and esteem. For this cause also we thank Elohim without ceasing, because when you received the word of Elohim which you heard of us, you received it not as the word of men, but as it is in truth, the word of Elohim which effectually worked also in you that believe. For ye brethren become followers of the houses of Elohim which are in Yehudah, are in Yahushua HaMashiach, for you also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as of the Yahudim, who both have killed the master Yahusha and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not Elohim, and are contrary to all men. So when you sit back and you look at the same thing when he mentioned with the man coming in Ziklag, you thought you killed somebody and you were doing the king's service. So in doing this, you make yourself contrary to Elohim, and it also shows how men kill unrighteously and kill men they ain't have no business touching. Then when you see this here, let's go to 1 Chronicles 16, what I was telling you about last night. We just go ahead and look at it right now. First Chronicles 16. First Chronicles 16 and verse 19. When you were but few, even a few, and strangers in it, and when they went from nation to nation and from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong, yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Now, when we sit back and we look at that, right, we just read this the other day in Thessalonians, how he said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 to be specific, where he sat back and said that it's a just thing for Elohim to render recompense to those who trouble you. See, that goes back to what I mentioned to y'all last night about allowing your righteousness to speak on your behalf. You know what I'm saying? Because you would understand and know that Yah will repay. See, if you don't believe that Yah will repay, then you'll feel the need to have to render judgment and recompense yourself. You know what I'm saying? The natural inclination of most people is to defend themselves when they feel like they being spoken evil of or they've been wronged. You know what I'm saying? Versus that you're forgetting that you have a power in heaven of which no man can stop and no man can destroy. Now, this just hit my mind because I definitely will finna go in that direct because I'm pretty much few with this particular matter. So, remember when we was looking at, when it said he's a man after his own heart, and one of the definitions was inner man, you know what I'm saying? Determination and resolution of will. Would it be safe to say that David had an understanding of Yah's mind and vice versa, with Yah having an understanding of David's mind first? Would it be safe to make that assertion? Now let me ask y'all a question. How many of y'all feel like there's somebody walking this earth that understand your mind? I'll start this way, and then y'all can just work your way around and go in a clean circle. Ma, you can go first. We just work our way around a clean circle. What about you, sir? Is there, you feel like there's anybody that walks this earth that understands your mind? Will said no. My mother said no. Come on, Johnny. What about you, Kalisha? What about you, Darius? No, I'm talking about somebody that understands the way you think, all that, understands your mind, understand how you operate, understand basically you. Fully, in a natural sense. What about you, Stanley? No, it's definitely not. What about you, Stanley? What about you, Callie? What about you?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. I feel like, yeah, that's what I feel like.
You could be married to somebody that don't necessarily understand you. I mean, that don't mean you should feel like they should. That don't necessarily mean that they do. Go ahead, Shayla. Go ahead, D.
Yeah.
I would say mine, no, not really. The reason why I say that because, you know, everybody's different. Some people communicate different, and then you don't understand the means of their communication. So then you don't realize what they're communicating when they're communicating it, because you feel like a person should communicate in a particular fashion. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you may not understand how people operate to be able to understand how to deal with them and navigate with them, because you don't really took the time to understand how their mind works. The reason why I mention this here, because you had no understanding of Yahuah whatsoever. You had to take the time to seek him out and to learn him, to understand him. You know what I'm saying? And you have to do the same thing with a person if you really want to understand them. You know what I'm saying? The reason I mention that here, because we're going to go read something in Isaiah chapter 40. 41, I want to say. It might not be 41, but whatever wherever it's located, it's definitely ringing in my brain right now. I can tell you that much. Yeah, it's definitely not 40. I can tell you that. As a matter of fact, it might not even be 41. I think it's Hosea. I want to say it's Hosea chapter 13, or maybe 14. That's what my mind telling me. Let me see if that's what it is. Now listen, somebody's gonna find it. But I know that one of the verses, I can't recall the location at the present time. He said, but who has sought the understanding of Yahuah? You know what I'm saying? He asked this question. Who sought that? Because you know, to understand someone is to have the insight on them. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking for an insight on Yah, you would have to seek that. A reason why I mention that because when we look at most human beings, most of the things that come along in life is because people don't understand one another. You know, people usually fear what they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like most other races fear black people because they don't understand us. They don't understand us because they never sought to understand us. You know what I'm saying? So they were trying to learn us from afar instead of seeking to understand us of how we operate and who we are as individuals versus what they thought that we were. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at it, we want to know Yahuah. You can come up. You can stay over here in Hosea 14. I'll just read verse 4 and work my way around. But when you look at the same token, if we looking at dealing with people, if you want to understand somebody, then you would need to seek that out. Do you know what I'm saying? If you really wanted that insight on that individual. Because we can't say that we seek to understand something and then don't seek it out. Because y'all got understanding to give, but he's not gonna give it to you if you don't seek it. He ain't gonna give it to you if you don't seek it. You think he just handing out lollipops of understanding to everybody standing on the street? Hosea 14:4. He said, I will heal their backsliding, and I will love them freely, for my anger is turned away from him. I will be as the dew unto Yasharal, and he shall grow as the lily, and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. They that dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall revive as corn, and grow as the vine. The scent thereof shall be as the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I've heard him, observed him. I'm like a green fir tree. From me is thy fruit found. Who is wise, and who shall understand these things? Prudent, and he shall know them. For the ways of Yahuah are right, and the just shall walk in them, but the transgressors fall therein. So the key thing when we look at, because he's talking about the resurrection of the dead in the verses before that. But he said, if you're going to understand these things, he said, why are you running around, sir? Don't let Hezekiah get you in trouble, son. And Hezekiah, don't let him get you in trouble. Hold on, let me find that verse I was telling you. I was right. Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40 and 25. Isaiah 40 and 25. Isaiah 40 and 25. He say, to whom will you liken me, or who shall I be equal? Saith the Kadash one. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who have created these things that bring out the host by number. He called them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, and not one fail. I say thou, O Jacob, and speak, O Yasharal, my way is hid from Yahuah, and my judgment is passed over from my Elohim. Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard? The everlasting Elohim, Yahuah, the creator of the ends of the arats. Faint not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding. You know what I'm saying? No searching of his understanding. You know what I'm saying? This is why I'm sitting back. That's why I asked you why I asked you. Because it's the same token that if you want to understand someone, are you actively seeking to understand this person? Or are you waiting on this person to make themselves manifest unto you? Because if you, and I'm trying to correlate this, because if you want to understand Yah, what did he just tell you need to do? Search after his understanding, right? Not sit back and wait on it. You know what I'm saying? But be diligent in seeking after to understand him and have the insight of him, of who he is, how he operates. So you could be able to say, John chapter 8. So you could be able to say what a Mashiach say right here. And I'm mentioning that using the natural stuff because if we can take the natural stuff and do the same, then you should be able to do it spiritually. Because if you lack in something naturally, you may lack in it spiritually. Does it always correlate like that every time? No, but a good majority of the time. You know what I'm saying? John 8 and 54. You just a rude man. You heard too. It seemed like you need 3 more coughs in there just to do it. Yahushua answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Abba that honor me, of whom you say that he is your Elohim. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I should say I know him not, I should be a liar like unto you, but I know him and I keep his saying. So how would this man be able to know this man? Well, let's look and see how he be able to know him. Proverbs chapter 4. This is the same token that you got to remember that this is what David did. Matter of fact, pause. 2 Samuel 23. I want you to see some words that David spoke before he died. Understand Yahuah, to be a man after Yah's own heart. That's the key point I'm looking at in this brief respite that we finna do before we crank it up later on, Yah willing, is you seek after his understanding. Why do you think David was even able to execute and be a man after Yah's own heart and do all of these things that have the insight in a man? Because he had to seek after the understanding, know Yah. You have to seek after that. If you don't seek, how you expect to know him if you don't even seek after to know him? That's going to be impossible. That man we just read in Isaiah 40, he said, there's no searching of my understanding. Nobody's looking for it. So that means, guess what we're doing then? We're leaning on our own understanding of who we believe this person is, instead of seeking this man out and knowing whom he is by what he reveals unto you. Because we just read it again last night. If you ask, what he say he'll do? He'll give it to you, right? He said, if you seek, what's going to happen? So if you seek his understanding, what you think you're going to find? But if you don't seek after it, you're not going to find it. Because people get it in our mind if we just say, Yah, please give me understanding, that he just going to give it to you, but yet you have not sought his understanding. He desires for us to seek after him that we may know him and be conformed and become like him. What's that? What was going on? I forgot. 21. Now these be the last words of David, the son of Jesse, said, the man who was raised up on high, and the man who was raised up on high, the anointed of Elohim of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Yasharal said, the Ruach of Yahuah spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. The Elohim of Yasharal said, the rock of Yasharal spake to me. He that rule over men must be just, ruling in fear of Elohim. And he shall be as the light of the morning when the sun rise, even a morning without clouds, as the tender grass springeth out of the earth by clear shining after rain. Although my house be not so with Elohim, yet if he made with me an everlasting covenant, and ordered in all things and sure, for this is all my salvation and all my desire, although he make it not grow. But the sons of Belial shall be all of them as thorns thrust away, because they cannot be taken with hands. But the man that shall touch them must be fenced with iron and the staff of a spear, and they shall utterly be burned with fire in the same place. But the key thing of what we said about I came here for with verse 3. He said that they got to rule in the fear of Elohim, and that they must be what? Just. So let's come over here to Proverbs chapter 4. How would you know what was just and what was not just unless you sought after his understanding? That's going to be impossible. When Yahushua rose from the dead, what did he do for his disciples? He opened their understanding, right? But do you not remember when he told them what goes into a man don't defile him, how he went off on them because they did not understand? Do you know what I'm saying? And you know why that he went off on them? Because you hadn't been seeking after to understand, to know what I'm saying to you. You didn't really want to know. You thought I just was going to tell it to you. You thought I was just going to hand it to you. There's a reason why this man say to watch and to seek. You know what I'm saying? Like you were never supposed to stop seeking after this man. There's a reason why he tell you to say seek after the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness. Because you seeking after him. Is there any period of time when Yahushua walked the earth that he stopped seeking after his father? Absolutely not. We have to continue in that same pathway and do the same thing. Proverbs 4:1, I'll say. Eugene, Maury, y'all need to find somewhere to sit down. This ain't no walkathon. This ain't no marathon. Go sit down. Proverbs 4:1. Hear ye children the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my Torah. Now he just sat back and he told you. He give you good doctrine and not to abandon his law. Now let's look at something. Let's go to John chapter 1 real quick. Probably about verse 14. Now remember what he just told you. You got to hear the instruction of a father and attend to no because he's giving you good teaching and he's telling you not to abandon his law. Now this is the same thing he swore to David, correct? He told David, as long as your children obey me, you'll never fail to have a man to sit on this throne. Continually. Well, I'll read it in a second. I'll just read it in a second. John chapter 1, verse 14. It said, and the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his esteem. The esteem is the only begotten of Abba, full of grace. John bare witness of him and cried, saying, this is he whom I spake. He that come after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness have we all received grace for grace. Now let me ask you this here, right? We know that, right? He is the word made flesh. In John chapter 8, probably about verse 42, he said that he was the word that is Abba's son. So when you forsake Mashiach, you're going to forsake good doctrine because he only taught good things. You know what I'm saying? So when you attend to him, you're going to attend to understanding. Let's see why. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. See, matter of fact, for those of y'all who said that somebody understands the way that you think, do you feel like you're very, very close to that individual? What about you, Shayla? You said that you feel that someone understands the way that you think. Do you feel you're very, very close to that individual? What about you, D? Because I know you did. What about you, Stanley? The reason why I mention this here is, if you attend to the understanding of Elohim, wouldn't you dwell in Yahushua, and Yahushua would dwell in you, therefore you would be close and near unto him. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's a different level of closeness if someone actually understands the way that he thinks and he operates. Like I say, most of the time, like in human interaction, it either happens over time or we look for somebody to do it. But I say everybody communicates different. You know what I'm saying? So you could take somebody showing you how they think and you not realizing that they showing you how they think because you expecting it in a particular fashion. The reason why I mention that is because people expect the Most High to operate in the fashion that this world has told them that he operates. And he doesn't operate in that fashion that the world has told you that he operates. So therefore, that's why people misunderstand him when you actually manifest how he operates and how he thinks and how he moves. You know what I'm saying? I want to use these simplistic examples. People use it, but for lack of a better example for the moment, people look at Yah and say, he hates the sin but love the sinner. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the proper understanding. Yah does not feel that way. He say he hate the wicked every day. You know what I'm saying? Like every day. He ain't with it. Then you turn around and you look at something as simple as, okay, I just had something that slipped out my brain. Okay, just a simple example of what we were discussing later. You got people that feel like Yah hear everybody prayers. Though he said if you regard evil in your heart, he will not hear you. Though say sinners, he do not hear. So people feel like as long as I pray, I'm being heard because they're going off of understanding of someone who they have not sought to know for themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? They're going off what they told them or what they could see. They didn't seek his understanding to know him. You know what I'm saying? You got some people that feel like as long as I do nice things for people, that I don't have to follow his instructions. And that's not how he operates. Some people feel like that he's just a hug 'em, slap you on your back type of guy, and this man say he's a man of war. If you're a man of war, and you this one particular side, then you don't really understand and know him. And then, of course, the biggest And the strongest thing that people misunderstand the most, they don't even know why this man came and laid his life down. They don't even understand the ramifications or purposes of why he did that. So therefore, there's no way that you could ever understand him. This is why the books say, if you lack understanding, you're worthy of death. And this is why he tell you that you need to attend to understanding and to seek it. And then I'm telling you on the natural side, because most of y'all in here married, if you feel like you don't know the individual or you don't understand how they think, then you need to seek it. Do you know what I'm saying? You need to seek that if that's your desire, that you really want that. You need to seek it. If you're not seeking it, then you probably never gonna get it. Because guess what? If you don't seek after y'all, guess what y'all not gonna do? He ain't gonna tell you nothing. He ain't gonna tell you nothing. He ain't gonna show you nothing. He ain't gonna manifest nothing to you. You know how we know this? But he's making himself known to you because you seek it out. So you got to think about that. You know what I'm saying? You should look at it naturally. You should look at it spiritually. But most important, you really need to look. I can know that for certain. I wasn't seeking after y'all. I ain't know nothing. I knew some tidbits here and there that was odd to me. When people say, oh, you ain't supposed to keep the law. And I could read Matthew 5 and 17 and ask them, well, brother, why I say this right here? Because that don't seem to make sense to me going along with what you're saying. Because I can read. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I remember the first time I read, it was because of one of Dr. York's scrolls. And he was talking about that Matthew 15:24, because I had no concept that this man came for a specific group of people. I didn't even know who these people were. I ain't know nothing about who Israel was or none of that at all. When I was 21 years old, locked up, dude told me we the children of Israel. I said, what that mean to me, cuz? Because I don't even know who that is. I don't even know what you're talking about. How many of y'all had a concept of who the children of Israel was? You had a concept of who they was? Listen. Before you started actually diligently seeking to save your soul. I read it, but sure, I didn't know. You know who they was, though? I ain't mad at you, shoot. You know who they was there? You knew who they was, Stanley? What about you, Callie? You knew who they was, Nisha? What about you, Lee? What about you, Salem? You knew who they were, D? I had no idea. Because it's a glare off that book when I read. So it's actually difficult to read sometimes with them on. He told me it'd take a while to adjust. It's difficult to read emails on my phone with them on. No, I mean, I do win, but if I'm reading and it's hindering me reading, then shoot, they got to come off. It don't do that on nothing else. It's just if I'm trying to read something.
That's how it was when I first got the Bible.
But I'm just sitting back looking at how and then we don't even want to sit back and look at, we ain't had no understanding of his mercy. We ain't had no understanding of his goodness. We ain't had no understanding of his grace. We ain't had no understanding of his salvation. You have to seek that. If you really want to know something or someone, you got to go after that if that's what you want. What was I at? I don't even know. Oh, 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 27. Praise the Lord. This is one of the aspects of being, and the reason why I'm mentioning this here, if you sit back and you pause and look, every time David was faced with a situation, what did he do? He sought after Yah in his understanding to know what Yah wanted him to do, so he would know how Yah operates. Like if we want to be able to say we know him, then you have to seek after him. Because that's why I mentioned and gave y'all that example. Like in natural sense, we usually don't seek after to understand someone unless you really, really infatuated with them. You know what I'm saying? But in the spiritual sense, we feel like Yah's supposed to come tell me who he is. And he's not. You know what I'm saying? And all of us can bear witness that. But once you seek after that, though, and you attain it, then you'll have a closer, you'll be his son, and he'll be your Abba, and there's no destroying that. It's kind of like how he put that once he proves you, he sees that you're faithful, he will never abandon you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really had to sit back. There's a reason why Yahushua say, I know that you hear me. There's a reason why he made that statement. Because he understood the will of his Father. Remember, we read that in Ephesians not too long ago. He said you need to understand what the will of the Lord is. Well, to understand his will, what would that mean you would have to do? You would have to seek after it. See, we ain't been told to really diligently seek after. We don't went over what it means to seek and the Hebrew word for seek and all that, but we don't read that in our brain that we feel like he's supposed to come show us who he is. And no, he want to see, do you want to know who he is? And then he'll give you everything that is yours. You know what I'm saying? This is what it really means to be a man after Yah's own heart, because David saw it from his youth up. From his youth up. So we have to make sure that we seek him in the same fashion. You got to seek him all the way up to your last breath. He didn't tell you to seek the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness till you felt like you were strong enough, knew enough, did it? That means you have to continually do that until you die. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the same for y'all. You married, then you need to seek to understand your spouse every single day. And you know what comes when you seek? You know what Yah exhibits to people when you seek after him? You know what attributes he exhibits when you seek after him? Because he know you don't know him, right? So you know what the first thing he gonna show it towards you, right? He gonna show some patience towards you because he know you don't know him. You know what I'm saying? So know you got to take time to learn him, correct? So again, that could take us back to when we were talking about husbands, dwell with your wives according to knowledge. If you know your wife don't understand you, then take the time and be patient with her so she can. And vice versa. If you know the book say for a woman to honor her husband, then the only way you can honor your husband is if you understand how your husband is and how he operates. How can you honor Yah if you don't understand how he is and how he operates? Would you be able to do that? So the only way you would be able to honor Yah, your husband, and know how he operates is to what? To understand him. So that means you need to diligently seek to understand, diligently seeking to understand you, and then you have a perfect union of the living Elohim in your household. You know what I'm saying? All work and desire and dedication. And if you stood before Yah and man and said that you were going to marry that person, then you said that that's what you were willing to do. Oh, Mordecai, you look like you took a little tumble. I'll make it verse 23.
Chapter 1, bro.
Chapter 1, verse 23. Because you know another thing I done sat back and this is just my opinion, paralleling natural with the word. But I noticed that people who have natural common traits are like who are like what Romans 2 say, you know what I'm talking about? Where you say how the Gentiles do the things that's contained in the Torah naturally without even knowing it. And I done mentioned this before. I've heard people say, opposites attract. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. You know what I'm saying? Most people feel like you should deal with somebody who you can relate to, that you have things in common with. I've noticed that people who don't have the character traits of Yah naturally usually don't hold to the word too fast. You know what I'm saying? So they'll never be able to understand him, become one with him. This is what I've noticed from observation. I'm not saying that that's fact, and I'm not saying that that's book. You know what I'm saying? That is my opinion. Do you know what I'm talking about? I've noticed that people who are not compassionate, people who are not merciful, people who are not disciplined, which means they would be consistent, you know what I'm talking about, cannot relate to Yahuah because these are the attributes of which he exhibits. People who are good, people who love to speak the truth and stand for the truth and to say what's right, you know what I'm saying? I've noticed that they do not stick because they don't have anything in common with him.
Go lay down.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of people who don't naturally love people, people who are not very forgiving. And when I'm talking about loving people, see, I'm going to tell you something, right? If you do something for somebody, the expectation of getting something back, you just did business. Do you know what I'm saying? You just did business. See, if you do something for some that they gonna reciprocate that when we already know Yahushua told you to do stuff and don't look for nothing in return, you just did business. See, when you got love for somebody, you do something for them and you don't want nothing in return. That wasn't the point of doing it. Just to recompense you for what you did, or thinking that because you did this for this person has to reciprocate this back to you.
Right, so if you do something for somebody and they show gratitude.
Oh, that's different.
You said with the expectation. Right, that's how I'm trying to say.
Word. Yeah, that's a better word to use. Yeah, if you do something for some expectation, just to keep it in turn, because we all know it. Niggas in the world, they do something for a woman and they do it for the expectation to get what? Some type of sexual gratification. Do you know what I'm saying? Niggas in the street do stuff for a nigga with the expectation that this nigga gonna give him something. Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of saying, but that's my dog, or I got love for him, or even more so, they get a poor, take me in esteem. You didn't do that because that was in your heart to do, because that's just the type of heart you need people to do it. You know what I'm saying? This is why most people don't like doing stuff for people or taking nothing from people, because they think that it's an ulterior motive behind it. Because that's the world that we live in. That's why most people, when you come in the word, most niggas trying to get something up out of you. Well, we just heard Paul state that I'm willing to impart the gospel and my soul unto you. Because that's how it's supposed to be. We not used to that. Because the world is wicked. Because God will give you something and it don't want nothing in return from you other than what you already owed him before he gave you anything, and that was your obedience. How many times did Yahushua ask something for these people when he did something for them? He ain't want nothing from them. What did he tell them in Matthew chapter 10? He said, cast out demons, do this. He said, freely you've been given, freely give. Give it to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Give it to him. We ain't supposed to be looking for nothing back. That's why you said a message, because when David came through with that stuff, what did he do? He parted it to him, didn't he? Give it to him. When it was time to party, David said, I'll give you the flesh. I'll give you the wine. I'll give you the bread. What you mean? Let's have a party. Don't mean nothing. But you know, if a nigga did that right now, they'd be looking at this nigga. He had to get it from the people. That's how niggas think. That's how niggas think. Because we ain't even used to nobody who got love for you to do something for you and they don't want nothing from you. You know what I'm saying? That's because we live in a wicked society. And when I say society, I ain't talking about just America. Come on, 1 Corinthians 1 and 24. That's why we need this. That's why we've been over time showing you, like, y'all supposed to know godly people when you see it. All that we've been looking at, you're supposed to be able to identify them. He say, but unto them which are called both Yahudim and Greeks, Hamashiach, the power of Elohim and the wisdom of Elohim, because the foolishness of Elohim is wiser than men, and the weakness of Elohim is stronger than men. For you see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But Elohim have chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Elohim have chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And base things of the world and things which are despised have Elohim chosen. Yea, the things which are not, to bring not to, that no flesh should esteem in his presence. But of him are ye in Yahushua HaMashiach, who of Elohim has made unto us wisdom, righteousness, sanctification, and redemption, that according as it is written, he that esteem, let him esteem in Yahuah. Now let's look at where he get this from, or why he say this. And then you can see what we talking about, seeking his understanding. And then we'll go to Proverbs 4 again. Jeremiah 9 and 22. Make it 9 and 23. We don't need 22. I want y'all to listen to what he say. And then we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at David. Understood him, so you can see how they were men after his own heart. You know what I'm saying? Look at what he say. Thus saith Yahuah, let not the wise man esteem in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man esteem in his might, Let not the rich man esteem in his riches, but let him that esteem in this, that he understand and know me, that I am Yahuah, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For these lights, saith Yahuah. So if he says his loving kindness and judgment in the earth, you know what those three things is again, right? Justice and judgment, which means the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. And that's what it means to understand Yahuah. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have good judgment, you don't understand Yahuah at all, and you don't know him. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have the righteousness of faith, if your faith is not on point, you don't understand Yahuah and you don't know him. And of course, if you don't have no love and kindness or mercy, ain't nowhere in the world you can say you know Yahuah. Because he says this here. Let me see your 1 John. Come over here to 1 John chapter 4. I'll give Proverbs 4 and 7. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Oh, 4. I don't know. I don't think that's it right now. I just see for Colossians.
Oh,
You had to slid him back in there.
part 1 and part 2.
Part 1 and part 2. The sequel. The sequel. 1 John chapter 4. Verse 7. 1 John 4 and 7. I'll give you a second to get on around now. That's the thing y'all should remember, right? He said if you're going to esteem, he say let him esteem that understand and know me. He said he delights in loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness. And we see why Yahuah delighted in David the way he did. Because he understood and knew him. Because he had a mind, he had a heart after Elohim. If he had a heart after Elohim, that means he sought him. 1 John 4 and 7. Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of Elohim, and everyone that love is born of Elohim and know Elohim. And this was manifested, the love of Elohim towards us, because that Elohim sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved Elohim, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. And see, that go again the part I was telling you about, like, you didn't seek after his understanding. He did something to be be saved. Now that's on you to take hold of it. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of people just feel like if I just wait on him, he's going to give me what I need. And you're going to be waiting until you burn in hell. Because that man gave, if he say seek and you shall find, that's not a suggestion. That is an ordinance. That is a commandment. That's what you were to do. And seeking is more than just reading through this word. It's seeking and laying his word up and executing it. Because you can read the word all day long. Niggas in the jail read the word all day long, no? They sit in there all day long and read. Read and stand in the circle and pray, singing Trouble Don't Last Always. Every night. Every night. That's no cap. Before they cut them lights off, tell them niggas go in themselves. Them niggas stand in a circle singing Trouble Don't Last Always. They'll sing you about 3-4 good hymns for you. Go in that room and cuss a nigga out, lay with a punk, tell a lie, beat a nigga up, bust a nigga upside the head with anything. Boy, I seen a nigga was in the word every day. Them cracker gave him 10 years and get through that Bible and they'll say, how I know this true? I don't know if this book true. You got 10 years because you thought you were going to go home. Nigga, you sold crack to the police. And you got caught. But see, you see the difference what I'm talking about, though? That's another instance what I'm talking about, how people don't understand him. People feel like, God forgive me, he'll make what you did that was wrong completely go away, don't it? When he say, I by no means clear the guilty. He say, I forgive, but I'm not going to clear you. You see how that come in with a misunderstanding? So somebody gets held accountable for what they've done, and they feel like, what type of God do that to me? You can forgive your children for playing on the stove. You still finna tap that butt, though. You're not going to absolve them from the guilt. You might tell them to sit in their room. There's going to be some type of consequence that they have to suffer for their disobedience. Do you know what I'm saying?
But they just feel like that because they feel like if he's merciful, You're not gonna allow the things to happen.
But why do they feel that way? Because somebody told you that this is how this man is, and you didn't seek to know this man for yourself. That's what they tell you. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm getting to is we seek to know this man. How many people y'all done ran across in your lifetime that you thought they was a particular way from afar till you saw to themselves?
But I think that's
That when a nigga throw the mercy on the court, they hope that they think they gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? Like people know that mercy is you're gonna spare something. You know what I'm saying? I might have to. It's gonna be some type of punishment. Niggas that made you believe that y'all ain't got no punishment. You know what I'm saying? You can just say, God forgive me. What was most of y'all taught as a child when you did something, especially when you probably little you around here cussing? God forgive again. God forgive me. Drunk another bottle the next day. Because they feel like if you say forgive me, that so I don't have to pay for what I've done. But in the natural sense, niggas know to pay for what you do. On the natural side, nigga know this. Before she get home, you know you ain't wash them dishes. Mama wouldn't let that butt whooping pass that she promised you. Let that pass. You know what I'm saying? I told more time I'm saying you got their own gonna fight. But when it come to the Most High though, we sit back and look at he supposed to get rid of it. Because that's what people done told us, because we don't seek to know this man for ourselves. That's what I mentioned. It's people y'all done know in your lifetime that you thought they was a particular way because you yourself.
we're trying to know him more.
I hope you don't know them. Don't know them, know them.
Man, like,
People always say, well, he's a
judge
loving
him
and
before you
merciful
do it,
God.
but again, I believe in these probably supposed to
No, I mean in that you seen somebody and you misunderstood what type of person they was till you told them for yourself and you seen. I ain't gonna say that's judging. You just might have misread what type of individual they were. Because you were looking from afar. You know what I'm saying?
What they do with the movie stars.
You know what I'm
They
talking
don't
about?
know these people, but they think they know.
Well, that's a little different because this ain't somebody you ain't even seeing in the flesh every day. I'm talking about somebody you see in the flesh.
Yeah, there ain't no. I don't think there's no excuse for you not to really know somebody if you see him interact with him in the flesh. Because you ain't really, like you said, you ain't really saw them out.
No, most of the time we've been for a person should expose themselves to you and that back. But that's only going to be if you build that over time. Some people want to know people and they seek that out. But I'm using that as a natural correlation of how hard are we seeking Yah out because that's what we're supposed to be doing. Because we're supposed to know and understand him. We understand him based off what a nigga told us or what we think. We supposed to understand him based off of who he is and how he operates according to what he said. You know what I'm saying? And if we can understand to do that, then we can flip it over on the natural side and do that there. And then we might not have as many problems amongst our people in the community. A lot of times what we have amongst our people, whether they in the word and or not in the word, is that niggas don't seek to understand one another. That's why you have so many beefs. That's why you have so many people fighting. Why you have so many niggas getting killed. You know what I'm saying? Because niggas is not seeking to understand one another. You know what I'm talking about? You're not really trying to see his perspective. You're not trying to understand how he operate, how he think. You're going strictly off emotion. A lot of the debates you see people have with the word is because they're not trying to understand one another. And not realizing that even if we disagree, I can still understand you even if I don't agree with you. That's a lack of maturity at that point, that you can't even disagree with somebody and it not be no beef when you walk from each other. Because it shouldn't be no strife because you disagree. 1 John 4:11. Though. He said, beloved, if Elohim so loved us, we also ought to love one another. Hereby we know that we dwell in him and he in us because he's given of us his ruach. That's it, well. No man has seen Elohim at any time. I don't need that light. That light's on that side. If we love one another, God dwell in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby we know that we dwell in him and he in us, because he has given us of his Ruach. And we have seen and do testify that Abba is to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Yahushua is the son of Elohim, Elohim dwell in him, and he in Elohim. And we have known and believed that the love of Elohim, that Elohim have to us, Elohim is love, and he that dwell in love, dwell in Elohim, and Elohim in him. Now let's turn around. We looked at David and Jonathan dwelling in love last night, right? Let's come over here to 2 Samuel 9. Let's see what we see. We're just going to pull some loving kindness of David, some mercy, some righteousness of David, and some judgment, which we pretty much been doing that all week. But we'll grab out of my shot also. We might just reference back to stuff what we done read with David. But let's look at 2 Samuel 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. Knees and toes. Right here, you're going to see a little bit of love and kindness, 2 Samuel 9 and 1. David said, is there yet any that is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? Now, why would he mention Jonathan's name, right? Because they made a covenant to have goodness between both of their seeds, right? Of Saul, a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they called him unto David, the king said unto him, art thou Ziba? And he said, thy servant is he. And the king said, is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may show the kindness of Elohim unto him? Ziba said, Jonathan hath yet a son, which is lame on his feet. The king said unto him, where is he? Ziba said unto the king, behold, he's in the house of Machir, the son of Amaliel, and Lo-debar. Then King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Machir, and the son of Amiel from Lo-debar. And when Mishaboth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, Mishaboth, and he answered, behold, thy servant. David said unto him, fear not, for I will surely show thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake, and will restore thee all the land of Saul father, and thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. Now, guess what he could have did in this instance right here? He could have been a man of not of his word and not kept the covenant he made with Jonathan, right? But instead, but look at what he did. He just didn't show kindness, right? He went and sought out to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? And these are the things that Yah delights in, and this is why he delighted in David and the heart that David had. Nobody had to tell David to go do that. He did that on his own because that's what was in his heart to do. Now let's look at him talking about eating bread continually. Luke 11 real quick. Sire, don't let him get you in trouble. That ain't what I wanted. How many of y'all feel like y'all diligently seeking after this man understanding on a regular basis? I can't hear you, sir. I couldn't hear you. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you on that. Luke 14 and 15. All right. And when one of them that sat at meat with him heard these things and said unto him, Baruch is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of Elohim. Now, why did I read this? Because he said that Mishaboth would eat bread at his table continually. Now, why would he eat bread at his table continually? Because he made a covenant with Jonathan, right? A covenant with Jonathan to have mercy. Because he made a covenant with Jonathan, right? A covenant with Jonathan to have mercy on his seed forever. So when we see this here and we see David having mercy on this seed, we can look at this as Abba have mercy on Yahushua's seed. And really sitting at his table eating bread. Revelation chapter 19. 19 and 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife has made herself ready, and to her granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the Chesed. And he saith unto me, right, Baruch, are which they are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these are true sayings of Elohim. Now we turn around and we see David calling this man to a supper, say, you can eat bread at my table continually. But also the other thing that he stated, he said he would restore what to him? All the land of his father. What is Yahushua going to restore to you? All that land. You see how these things, and that is what? That's the love and kindness of Elohim. Didn't he say, if it's marvelous in my eye, in your eyes, ain't it marvelous in mine? Let's look at 13. That's all we want. Now this one here, we're looking at righteousness. He said, David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against Yahuah. This to David, Yahuah have also put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. Now why did we come to this one right here? Because of the level of humility that this man did. He didn't make an excuse for his sin. He didn't try to explain away his sin. Man said straight up and down, I have sinned. Well, I ain't even going to put that with righteousness. Going to put that with judgment. Because remember, he pronounced judgment on himself in here, correct? He said, the man that did this he shall surely die. He said, that man is you. He said, I've sinned against Yahuah. Now let's come over here and look at a couple of examples of Mashiach showing a little love and kindness. First, just because I just feel and I want you to hear it and understand. John chapter 9. Matter of fact, we can do love and kindness all in one walk, and the judgment in one walk. John 9 and 1. Yahushua passed by, and he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Yahushua answered, neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of Elohim should be made manifest in. So what would that work be? It would be some love and kindness. This man been blind from his birth. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night come when no man can work. So again, what are the things that this man delight in? Righteousness, love and kindness, and judgment. And I done told y'all that numerous times. Judgment is the thing that niggas ain't got right the most. That's what most people ain't got right. Nigga, judgment is off. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, judgment is off because you're judging based off of your own perspective and own desires, and you're not judging off the word. I agree. I agree. But you know what the book say? I'm going to show you. Psalms 37. No, I'm talking about with something else. I know what you're talking about. When you just said that, a verse just popped in my head. Psalms 37. That's going along. Actually, it's confirming what you just said. Yeah, it's confirming what you just said. 37 and 28 of Psalms. Yeah, this right here, it definitely confirming what she just said. Can't said, they are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. And the mouth of the righteous speak wisdom, and his tongue talk of judgment. The law of his Elohim is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. So that's what you're supposed to look at. How she just mentioned, like, oh, that's not my. He say, if you righteous, he say your tongue's supposed to keep judgment on it. You're supposed to be able to judge it according to the word and let that be known, and not care nothing about a nigga feelings. You know that's why most people don't judge correctly. Why do you think most niggas seek out judgment from somebody who don't really? Because you worry about your feelings. I don't care nothing about your feelings. Truth be told, I don't care. It ain't got no effect on me. I'm not gonna give you no judgment based on your feelings. It's absolutely irrelevant. Because we're going to judge it according to the word. Because guess what? When you judge, you're not judging for man, you're judging for Yah. See, we look at judging as stoning somebody. Remember how we just read the other day where he asked Peter, which one who would be forgiven more? And what did he say? Thou hast rightly judged, didn't he? Judging is knowing to be able to determine the right thing from the wrong thing. Judging ain't always putting no stone upside somebody's head or correcting somebody in no sin. It's telling them this is the proper way to do this. This is the righteous way to do this. But like she just mentioned, niggas be like, that ain't my place. Or a nigga don't really want to tell a nigga what they need. You know what I'm saying?
They always throw Matthew in your face.
Well, nah, we ain't talking about people who outside the word. Because it's niggas in the word who want righteous judgment the most. People outside the word, or Christians say use Matthew 7 when you trying to point out they sin. But niggas in the word know that ain't nobody point. They don't want to be like, hey, bro, what you think I should do with this here? What you think I don't really want that judgment. Remember, we dealt with mishpat. That's to be able to do what? To show you right from wrong. It ain't the shafat where you consuming what's wrong. You know what I'm talking about? Mishpat didn't mean to show wrong. Remember, we dealt with that. If you can't discern between good and evil, according to the epistle letters, what that make you? A babe, unskillful in the word of righteousness. Mean you need to stay in your crib. It's going out here trying to make no move and do this here, and you a babe. Because he say everybody who's a full age eats strong meat. And by reason of use, they can discern between good and evil. That mean they using the word. See, niggas ain't using the word. So that's why you can't discern. Shoot, but I'm talking about people who supposed to be in the word. Who claim they in the truth. Judgment's horrible. How you in the truth and you make bad decision after bad decision? With the word. That means like you ain't seeking after his understanding. And you ain't hearkening to what you hear. Because you hearkening unto your flesh and your desires. Would take us back to what we were talking about. Your heart go after your covetousness. That's what your heart go after, what you desire. And your desires are going to damn you. That's why I was talking to y'all about that with Satan. Satan ain't got no power to answer no prayer, but he know what you like. He know what you like. He put it right in your face because he know you stupid enough to go for it. But you claim you righteous and you a Jew and you a son of God and this, that, there, and the third. He said, but I know you lying. Because as soon as I dangle this so nice piece of steak in your face, you gonna buy. Y'all ever heard of that experiment, Pavlov's dogs? Y'all familiar with that? They taught you that in school. When they ring the little bell and the dogs come and eat, that's all Satan know he need to do. Ring that little bell and you coming. Oh yeah, ring that little bell. That nigga coming. Y'all call out to you, be like, you heard I ain't nothing. I don't know what that was. I heard that bell though. It's dinner time. Come on, man. Drop down to verse 37. I got to get ready to cut off. Well, 35. Yahushua heard that they had cast him out when he had found him. And he said unto him, dost thou believe? Now remember the context if you don't know what's going on. The blind man go into the synagogue. He can see. They want to know, nigga, how you can see. He tell him, how. I like what his parents, because his parents ain't want nothing to do with it. You know what their parents say his parents had with it? He said he is of age. Ask him. Ask him who did it. That nigga grown. You know what I'm saying? And they wanted to put him out the synagogue behind this. Yahushua heard that they had cast him out, and when they had found him, he said unto him, does thou believe on the son of Elohim? He answered and said, who is he, master, that I might believe on him? Yahushua said unto him, thou hast seen him, and it is he that talked with thee. And he said, master, I believe, and he worshipped him. And Yahushua said, for judgment I'm coming to this world, that they which see not might see, and they which see might be made blind. Some of the Pharisees which heard these words said unto him, are we blind also? said unto them, if you were blind, you would have no sin, but now ye say we see, therefore your sin remains. So again, that's that judgment. They've hated me without a cause. Because if I wouldn't have came and did the works that no other man did, they wouldn't have had sin. But now that it done came, you ain't got no cover for it. You can't cover it up. That means you know what you're doing. Let's finish this Proverbs 4, man. I got to stop this here. What is it, about 4:10? 4:20? I stopped at verse 3. Proverbs 4. Y'all willing, we'll pick this back up on the second round. He said, I was my Abba's son, tender, only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she will preserve thee. Love her, and she will keep thee. She shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. See now, if you love wisdom, wisdom will stop you from sinning. Wisdom will give you eternal life because it gives you the skill to be able to war. Then it allows you to have access to understanding, which gives you the insight, the Elohim. Once you got understanding, you realize something, right? In that Luke 24, when he opened their understanding that they might understand the scriptures. When Yahushua draw you, when the Abba allow Yahushua to draw you to him, to Yahushua himself, that means you able to understand and know Yah. That was the difference between the apostles pre and post resurrection. Once he resurrected from the dead, they understood and knew Yah at that point. And that they could bear witness of Yah and bear witness of him in truth because now they know him. Remember, he said, if you believe on him, you don't believe on him, but you believe on the one that sent him. So as we mentioned in that Isaiah 40 and 28, there's no searching of his understanding in the earth. You not seeking to know this man. And like I've been telling you the last few weeks, niggas only seeking to know this man to get something from this man. Everybody in this room done had somebody play up on them to try to get something from them. They didn't really want to know you. They didn't really want to deal with you. They wanted to fool with you for what they felt like they could get out of you. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we treat y'all. We treat y'all like an old slut hoe in the street, old duck nigga in the street. That's how you treat him. Let me play up on him, and he'll bless me with this here real quick and bless me with that real quick, and I'm going to slide off and be my regular sinful self. You ain't really seeking this man to know him. You seeking this man to get what you can get from him. And that ain't right. That's right. That ain't right. Hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Bless everybody on the stream out the house. Y'all name of Yahushua. We probably pick this back up, I would say probably about 7:40. Between 7:30 and 7:45. So y'all willing to that time.